His social skills.
It's that time of year.
And they did they have last name?
Your social skills.
And then what?
Probably the maturity level.
2 weeks before playoffs start, probably?
No, we got a little grandson born in May. Very, very.
Hello, how are you?
Yeah, this guy don't take
All right, thank you.
Hasn't started raining yet. It's gonna be interesting tomorrow and going into Wednesday. When it rains and then how cold it gets.
Oh, Friday, it's down to 0.
We got that kind of,
Then it's supposed to be warm again.
But then it's supposed to be 33
Yeah.
on
It was
Saturday.
fantastic out today. I can't complain.
It's that time of year where you
kind of
Anything goes.
rather than
as long as we're here.
Yeah, as long as we don't have a repeat of what before Christmas was.
So actually, they go to public schools 14 years.
And then
Some districts, well, saying, well,
blah 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 blah. Then he would never follow through. So his own.
tax credits.
Art is another year back.
You got about 15 seconds, young lady.
He's the oldest one in school. He's already gone through pretty much everything that they.
Takes you that long to wheel into play.
Well, where are we at?
At 6:30.
All right.
Welcome everybody. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Welcome to the regular Tracy City Council meeting for Monday, February 13th. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any additions or subtractions to the agenda?
We do. We added an additional closed meeting for some legal advice. Piece of litigation that the city council authorized last fall, and so it's an update from Matt on that. So there'll be 2 closed meetings tonight.
Okay. Anything else? Okay.
I move to approve the agenda.
That
First and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to talk about something that is not on the agenda? Karen?
What's that?
Or Gail and Shirley? Oh, and Dave.
I'm Karen Krog. I'm a member of the Community Center Workforce Group. We're here. We just want to thank all of you and the city and the community for their support for our new community center. It's been amazing. We're getting contributions constantly. We've had fundraisers, and we're having another big fundraiser towards the end of April. Gary Rue is coming back. We're having a talent show with a silent auction, so put that on your calendars. There'll be some advertising coming about that in the future.
What day is that, Karen?
April 30th. It's a Sunday afternoon.
Clark.
who's coming?
Gary Rue is coming back, and we're having some local talent in connection
Oh,
with.
okay. Good.
Nice.
So we're just very pleased. We appreciate your support and the community's support as well.
Bravo!
Anybody else in the public that would like to talk about something that's not on the agenda? And Karen, I want to tell you guys, thanks for all your hard work.
Yes, wonderful job.
You too, Dave.
Well, I shouldn't say John, it just didn't mean just Karen. I was sorry. All of you.
Yeah.
Okay. Dave, you want to do your thing?
Yeah, Dave.
Motion to approve the January 23rd council minutes, the January 21st work session minutes, approve municipal accounts payable and payroll without breakthrough beverage, approve resolution 2023-13, approve the gambling permit for St. Mary's. Do they have to, is there already a fee on that at all, or?
Yeah, all of the stuff would be assuming that these are paid.
Okay. do that. Then the 2023 gambling permit for the Tracy Firemen's Relief Association. And resolution 2023-17 accepting the donation from the Apex.
I'll second that.
First and second, any further discussion?
I had Karen Krog call me regarding the minutes, and it would just be regarding when Janine Van Adrese gave a presentation. She felt it didn't quite reflect what they said, and Karen has a copy.
We're not going to present that tonight.
Pardon?
We're not going to present that tonight.
Oh, you didn't want it brought up tonight? I am sorry. I
It's okay.
misunderstood you. Okay,
I'll
okay.
do these things.
I withdraw my whatever it was.
All right, roll call, please.
George Landite,
Aye.
Gary Shones,
Aye.
Tom Dobson,
Aye.
Seth Schmidt,
Yes.
Dave T,
Aye.
Janet Visu,
Aye.
and Corman.
Aye.
I'll make a motion to approve municipal accounts payable for Breakthrough Beverage.
I'll second.
First and second, any discussion on that? Okay, roll call, please.
Janet Visu,
Aye.
Seth Schmidt,
Yes.
Tom Dobson,
Yes.
Gary Shones,
Aye.
George Landite,
Aye.
and Corman.
Aye. Does anybody have anything for mayor council communication?
I had a couple things, Mayor. I just wanted to say that I was encouraged after attending a Safe Routes to School meeting out of the school last week. Just seems like we're moving ahead and working towards our goal of getting better sidewalks or routes for bicyclists and pedestrians to go to our two schools and in between the two schools. And hopefully we'll get a plan together that will qualify for some grant funds and make it happen. And I also just wanted to say that our park board is also moving forward in our discussions of the new plan for Central Park, and we've been spending quite a bit of time recently just going over possible layouts for and equipment for the new Central Park playground. So I'm feeling optimistic about both of those.
I have one thing, and maybe this ain't the place to do it, but the letter to the editor from Councilman not condemning, but not approving of the community center, I understand and I respect your opinion. The part that bothered me is we had multiple meetings and none of this come up earlier, and now they got close to 600 or 500,000 at the time. That to me was quite a slap in the face for the people that have been working hard to get the money. Like I said, I respect your opinion and I don't have nothing wrong with that, and I don't have a problem how you presented it. It just to me was about $400,000 too late. So I just wanted to say that at this point.
Well, I had a discussion, or I sent Dave an email shortly after, just kind of saying the same thing. I respect your opinion. I respect your, right to write the, the letter to the editor. I guess my biggest concern was that if we don't feel free to kind of, in the midst of our discussions here, to raise our hand at any point in time that our thoughts have changed or we have a concern, I think that might be something that we need to have a meeting, rather than a council session, but a planning session where we just kind of adopt some understandings or some trust factor where we can say, how do we address something like that going forward, where we have the confidence in being able to share and the understanding that says, okay, I understand where you're coming from, and at least perhaps then if it's a situation where there are others that have had similar, at least it would come out in that discussion. We could kind of have an idea. And so that's what I would throw out, is that maybe we should plan a time sometime in the future where we can kind of discuss just how do we handle things that are going to be coming up. Because honestly, I don't think we should agree with each other on every single thing going on. I think that's probably not realistic. If we're representing as many people as we represent, there's going to be differences of opinion that come to us, and we have to reflect kind of where we're at the time. And I think there's going to probably be more of these things that are coming up because we have so many moving parts right now that it's important we understand how we can address that.
I agree that I think we need to have a work session, not just because of this subject, but because of just the whole, we're a new council now. I think we need to learn how to function together. Because really, if you want to get into it, there's already been both sides happening here. We decided we weren't putting any more city money into it, but a couple council members have said that we should put more money into it if now, because they can raise more money later on to pay us back and everything, when we've already decided we weren't going to put more money towards it. That we said the city is budgeted this much, it was going to be. Well, people brought up now, after that decision, that they felt that they should get more money from the city. I feel like Dave's letter was just kind of the counterpoint to that. So I'm not saying either party or parties, whatever, were totally wrong, because we are all going to not agree. Mm-hmm. But what we have to learn to do as a council is to work together and agree to disagree. But when we vote, we walk out of here supporting the outcome of that vote.
I agree.
We don't continue to bring up the same matter because it didn't go my way, that I'm going to keep bringing it up at every meeting until I try to wear people down. Yeah. We need to say, okay, we voted on this. We need to now agree to disagree.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And I guess I did not think about that until now, Jerry, that our saying, if you get close, maybe we should consider, actually also goes against those original votes. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's right. At some point we need to try to figure out, okay, when we give timelines, even if it's a 3-4 vote, which I hope we don't get to too many of those, that the three that are not in favor of it at least support it to that point in time or whatever it is. So I understand. I like the idea of the work group, though.
But I think it never hurts to do some type of team building.
Yeah.
And to understand how to deal with differences.
Yep.
Because we're going to have differences.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the key is, to me, no matter whose opinion, when it's stated, not to go off the deep end, just accept it and move forward in the right way, whatever way that is. So I guess I think that's a great deal too, although I'm not looking forward to another meeting, Jerry. But
No,
I know you aren't either, but it's a necessary evil, I understand that.
But if one meeting will help decrease meetings being 2 to 3 hours long because we keep dredging up the same issues even though we've voted on them and everything, I'm willing to do another meeting because that will cut the other meetings, I think, down in time.
Yep.
Do you want to schedule something and have me look at how that meeting might be facilitated?
Does the league have any specialty to?
I think that yes. There's a couple of issues. One is, are you willing to pay for that? Because typically you're not going to get those kinds of services for free.
What do we get for free from the league?
Not much.
For our dues, I should say.
Let me invent. I haven't given this a lot of thought, so I probably would request that I come back with some choices for you later. I do think that it's a good idea it's always a good idea for the council to talk about how they're going to work together. I think it's a great discussion. What do you want to try to schedule a time? Do you want me to come back with some additional information and then you can discuss it and then schedule a time at that time? Does that make sense for people?
I'd rather have some
Yeah,
information.
first.
Okay, let me see what I can find, and then I can get a better answer for you on that. See if there's some other resources out there. You can always pay people to do this, you know. The question is, do you want to? And
Well, and if it's $99 or $900.
well, there are people that charge a lot of money for this.
Yes, I know.
We got one sitting on the end here.
I know at one time, we had done a Zoom type meeting because we had interacted, I don't know, somehow you hook up your TVs and, so they didn't have to come out here.
That was for the Charter Commission a few years back. They did that for free. The league had one of their attorneys with the Charter Commission, and they kind of reviewed the statutes in regards to the charter process with the state of
This is the kind of thing, to be honest, and I've done this kind of stuff myself before, you know, as part of other boards, and usually it's the kind of thing that happens over a period of hours. Or even in some cases days, if you want to go that far.
No, I don't want to go in.
But I think you're talking about at least half a day, you know, really to do this right and have this discussion. You're talking about a full morning on a Saturday or something like that. Just to kind of prepare you in thinking about this. And so let me see what I can find, and I'll bring back some information for you.
Fine.
Okay, does anybody else have anything? Okay, I have two. One, we talked about changing how we do our special meetings. You know, like in reference to that letter, Suzanne's letter, the scheduling of the meetings. Do we talk about that here?
That's,
You're talking
no,
about,
I'm
you're talking
talking
about,
about-
are you talking about the ordinance on
Yes.
the, yeah, I kind of got the sense from the last meeting and talking to a few of you off the side that there was a desire to kind of look at the vicious dog ordinance again and make some modifications. What I'm not sure from all of you is exactly what modifications you want to make. I think that they are, related to time, because we had to do this special meeting and it would have been a lot easier if we'd just been able to do it tonight. And then maybe, are there some other, things in there that we could do? And so what I haven't had a chance to do yet is review the state law on that, which I need to do. And it would be really helpful if I got some direction from you as a council as to what you would like to do differently with it. And you don't necessarily have to answer that right now because
Well, it's hard without knowing what the state law is. Because I don't want to say, well, I want to do this, this, and this, and it's against what the law says.
fair enough.
The only thing I like to see is we move it into a regular meeting and not have to have a special.
That's
Yep.
the part that I was getting to.
They've already
Is that
did
really
the
the only
homework.
thing that you want to change at this point?
That's the part that I wanted to talk about.
The homework
I like
has
the
already been
ordinance
done.
that we have.
Yeah, I like the ordinance, but we need the
The
timing of
timing
it.
of it.
I think the only other thing that I thought as a result of that meeting and talking with Matt, just at that meeting, is maybe to clarify that last item about the $50,000 liability insurance. Flesh that out a little more of what that looks like, I think would be a good thing.
maybe a discussion on, can you obtain that coverage? And if you can, some of the specifics in obtaining that coverage.
what it looks like.
And the $50,000 seems a little arbitrary to me anyway, it might have been a lot of money then, and maybe it's less money now, I don't know if that's even the right
Yeah,
amount.
it's not much today.
No, it's not. That's
So,
what I was getting at. was
so those are
part
the
that-
two things maybe that people might want to look at is the insurance and the timing of the hearing. Because, those are relatively straightforward and easy things to do, because we'd have to do this as an ordinance, and so it requires 2 readings. We would put a notice out in the paper, or we would publish it and then have a public hearing before you voted on it. So this is kind of that procedure. But I can certainly write some stuff out, and I can look at law and make sure that what we have is consistent with the state law.
And I would like some specifics as to if they ask for an appeal, that there be some specifics that they have evidence to dispute the declaration of a vicious dog or whatever. Because if it's all emotion, if we stick to our ordinance, emotion is not appropriate for us to enter into the decision. Because someone's pet is somebody's pet that they love.
Baby.
Right.
It doesn't
So
matter.
Are you suggesting if they don't have any evidence that they can't even bring the appeal?
Well, I don't think legally we probably can do that. I
Okay.
think we have to offer them the option
Right.
for an appeal,
Right.
but that appeal has some substance
Yeah, I would
other
agree.
than,
There could be
The
a
emotional-
requirement for you to overturn the decision, it has to meet a certain standard or criteria,
Well, what-
this, and this.
What are you disputing, I think, would be, because I just want to say for the individuals that wrote this, having presided over that, I thought it was very well written with a couple of these little things, because frankly, if the way that it's stated, unless somebody is objecting to say, I don't believe my dog bit someone, we didn't have another course from that point on. If you say, did your dog bite someone? Yes, they did. As far as I'm concerned, we didn't have another thing to talk about hardly, because it's very clear that meets the definition. So unless we change the definition, we're done.
That's right.
And once you've defined the dog that, these are the parameters, we can't change any of those 5 items. It could have been short and sweet.
Yeah.
And so I think it's important for individuals to have, even with the emotion, an opportunity to at least say their piece. But in the end, the question, do you believe that your dog did bite this person? Yes. Thank you. You know, I don't know what else to do at that point other than to rehash the same.
and that's what's happened at
That's
both
what we
of them,
did.
is just rehashing the emotional part of it. And it, I mean, it tears at everybody's heart,
Yeah.
but ultimately, we have to follow our ordinance.
Yeah, it doesn't say how it was done, why it was done, you know, who was in charge. It doesn't say anything about that. It just clearly says, was someone bitten, or the other items in there, and if yes.
Yeah, if they want to dispute that the person was antagonizing their dog and
was
caused it to
one of
bite
them,
them,
yeah.
that is one
That was in
thing
there.
that you can dispute at an appeal.
Were they breaking in? I think
Yeah.
Matt talked about that, and
Trespassing or committing an act or
Yeah.
provoking the dog, those all be defenses.
okay.
Okay, I'll open that on that. There was another thing too?
I have one other thing. So I got an email that the Transit Advisory Committee is looking for people that would like to be on their committee. So it could be a council person, it could be a resident, it could be somebody that rides on their bus.
Is this the people that do the transit bus here?
Well, it's
Who is it?
UCAP.
What's UCAP?
Is that who that is?
Yep, UCAP runs that.
Yeah, so I was just putting that out to you guys and to the public, if there's anybody out there that's interested in being on their committee.
It's their committee, advisory board, what's the?
The Transit Advisory Committee.
Okay.
They meet where?
You don't like
They meet
meetings
by
anyhow.
Zoom. We're currently meeting by Zoom.
6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
Well,
they meet
It's up
it
to
by
you, Dave.
Zoom on the third Thursday of the month at 9 a.m. So if anybody is interested in that, let me know and I can let them know.
I did let, I think, Eric know and Diane know that I went ahead and passed the test to be set back up for the, what is it, tax and
Board of Equalization.
Board of Equalization. So we do have 2 people that can
Yes, I did
field that.
too.
Oh, did you? Good. That was
Okay,
interesting.
that is all I had.
And then, did you all get a notice in the mail of the open meetings from XL Energy on their transmission line? That's, one of them's in Marshall, I think. Be good for us to go, or some of us to go, to get some inside information of what their timing and what it might impact as far as our community. I'm gonna plan to go.
what was that?
I wished I'd have brought that. I walked off without the little You remember?
February 28th, I think,
Okay, that sounds great.
at the hotel.
There's one in Granite Falls at the casino and one in Marshall, and I think that's the closest
Oh.
it gets to us.
Is that something you would be interested in?
I'm down for the one in Granite Falls, too.
Okay, good.
I think casino,
All right, anything else, guys? Okay.
It's on me. A couple of quick things, and I'm going to go over my report. It's changed since the last time, since we kind of changed our goals a little bit. The first one is just kind of an informational piece. You know, there's been some discussion in the paper about the school needing some space for classes and administrators to stay and things like that. And I received a communication with Chad Anderson last week, and I had a previous meeting with him and asked him some questions of clarification today. And I don't have a full answer for you yet as far as what we think makes sense, but ultimately it'll come back to the city council to decide what it is that they want to do. I just don't know what it is yet. But I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that that conversation is ongoing. And you probably knew that, but regardless, it is ongoing. The second thing I wanted to bring up is probably a week and a half ago, the state legislature passed a law making Juneteenth an official state holiday. As part of the other holidays, we are required to be closed those days because we can't do business on state holidays. However, that law does not go into effect until August 1st. Now, so technically speaking, in 2024, we will have to observe that holiday and be closed. But this year we won't have to. However, you may remember we put in the union contract that if it was a state holiday, we would recognize it, and although technically it doesn't start until August 1st, and the employees have already been asking about it if they're going to get Juneteenth or not off this year. And so the only way that we can do it, because it's a state holiday, is if the city council declares it a city holiday and closes the offices. And that, of course, only affects the offices. It doesn't affect things like the liquor store. The pool will be open on June 19th and things like that. So I wanted to get some direction from you, just bring it up as an issue to talk about. I sent an email a few days ago about it to give you a chance to think about it, how you feel about it. We don't have to decide that today, but if we do it, we'd have to do it by resolution. But just want to get some feedback if you think that's a good idea, or if we just wait until 2024.
I guess I agree with the thought of honoring it if it comes to tuition, but it really doesn't come to tuition this year, so I'm not sure we really need to address it, other than just being nice. I'm not trying to get anybody mad at me, but
Okay, I'm just asking a question.
It's not a law yet, so we're not breaking any contracts. We're doing exactly what we said. Maybe we feel they need a day off, I don't know.
I mean, I think it's a legitimate question from an employee. They know it was in their
Yeah.
contract, so I mean, I would ask, do I get it off this year or not? I mean, it's just a natural question. But when you look at that, it's not a true holiday, and that's when we said we would add it in, was when the state made it a holiday.
Yep.
So I think it is the 24.
Okay. Anybody disagree with that? Sounds good to me. Don't have to do anything on that one. All right. I want to kind of go over a little bit more in detail than I usually do, and I promise I won't do this, every single time. In terms of kind of this work plan at the moment. This is kind of the start of the work plan. This is really designed to be kind of a 2023, 2024 kind of work plan, which means that, over time, stuff is going to be added to it as we complete some things. The only thing that's different in terms of the goals about this is and I presume that you're going to adopt it later tonight, because we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. There's really one goal that you modified, and that was the one related to the community center, and you kind of added in, also preserving and the VMC at the same time. And so those kind of became a package deal, at that point. And so So a lot of those things related to that item are in that, but everything else is pretty much the same as they have been previously. So, I gotta take my glasses off, I've got bad eyes, I can't. I know.
This one really got printed small.
It's my fault. I do this because I like it all on one page, but I can't read it either because the first goal of the city council is to develop a new housing plan for families. Housing is something the EDA has talked about. This is an important goal for a lot of people in town. Our ongoing current housing development in Broad Acres has one lot listed for sale, and Jeff is going to work hard to try to get that sold this year. The second one is that we just did a study, and actually Jeff and I just got it on Thursday, I think, on some adaptive reuse of some properties downtown. We're still reviewing it, and we'll bring it back to City Council for your review as well. But has some interesting things on it, just talking about what can we do from a housing standpoint. We've talked about some zoning changes. That's something that came out of the comprehensive plan as some of the actions. And the last one that a lot of people have been talking about now is, okay, well, if we want to build new houses, where is that? What does that look like? So start kind of having that discussion, identifying where that new housing area of town might be, and how do we make that happen? This is really early in the process, but I think that people really are interested in that, and I know the EDA is too, and so that's something we're going to start to work on. Any questions on that one? Okay. The next one is about developing a marketing program to promote the city of Tracy. A lot of this is stuff that we've been doing for a couple of years and is ongoing. The Tracy Activities Guide, I didn't talk to you guys about it, but I presume you wanted to do it again this year. It's something we've done the last couple of years that I've been here, where we partner with them, and essentially the city pays for the printing, and then Above the Fold sells the advertising, does all the distribution for the Activities Guide. And that kind of helps to promote the community. We have this new website that I've been working on for a while, and I kind of backburnered it, but we have to get it done because it's grant funded, by May, which is tracyminnesota.com. Summer park activities, I really see the movies in the park that we're doing, frankly the movies in the library and the movies in the VMC too, I would include in that. Aloha Night, Burgers, Bands, and Brews, all the stuff that we do in terms of these festivals and things like that. I mean, that's about marketing the city, bringing people into town, kind of showing them what we have to offer, stuff like that. And then liquor store marketing, which is a continuous thing that Tam is working on. There's a new sign that's going to be on the pole, we think soon, this month or next. And then looking at a new sign on the storefront. This is hot off the presses too, actually, because we just completed the website for boxcarliquors.com. So I don't think anybody probably knows it's there yet at this point, but boxcarliquors.com, if you go there, you can't actually buy off of it, but you can see information about the store and what's sold there, specials and stuff like that.
Will it have the hours?
Yep, it has hours on it and all that. Yep, absolutely. So the website, the liquor store now has its own website. So we think that's pretty neat. Any questions about that? The next one is about infrastructure. Phase 3A2, we're in the middle of winter. It was supposed to have been done last fall, but we're going to be moving into the spring on that because of the issues related to the bumpy streets. Shane will be doing street maintenance again this summer, according to the asset management plan. The ponds decommissioning is about 95% done at this point. They've just got to do some grass seeding and some final grading and some things like that, and they can't do that until spring. And so they'll be done. I think May 1st is when they're supposed to be done. It's May 1st, isn't it? I think it's May. I think it's May 1st.
Is there what if the weather doesn't allow the seeding? Is there a rain day?
Yeah, I mean, a substantial completion date is the day that's May 1st.
Okay.
And so if we have some weather delays, we can always extend that. I'm not so concerned about that particular project because it's, you know, it's pretty much done.
They were doing
They,
it.
they did a heck of a job.
Did a
I
heck
know
of a
they had an issue a few days with the wind and stuff like that, but that project went really smooth.
They did good.
Airport hangars, we've got some money approved from you for at least 4 hangars. My guess is the construction will stretch into 2024. We'll start the engineering this year. There's a whole process you have to go through where the FAA has to approve it. And we've submitted what's called the CADX to the FAA, and that's basically just an engineering report. They have to approve that, and then we can start the engineering. It, you know, like a lot of government bureaucracies, there's a lot of hoops. The next one is pool liners. Again, this is approved by as part of the 2023 budget. We'll replace the liners in the pool after the pool closes this year. And that's a project that will take about a month, and it'll happen in, you know, August, September kind of time frame before it gets cold. Center Street, you know that all the construction documents have been signed. You've approved the design and the contractor. That's going to get started here ASAP when the weather gets nice. The next item is something that is also approved in the 2023 budget, but we're looking at kind of creating a, you know, master plan for the business park. And this is really about where, you know, the street layout is, what kinds of businesses you might want to attract, where should the utilities go, and kind of creates a vision for what we want at the industrial park. We've had a couple of Zoom meetings on it, and I think this project is slated to be done in a couple of months, and that's another thing we'll bring to City Council when that's complete.
Run that by me again. We are going to spend some money out there? And
Well, no, this is just a plan. This is just planning. We
Oh.
don't have any money budgeted to spend out there at this point.
all right,
This is just, okay, we have a plan. Do we want to spend money later on that?
got it.
Yep.
And this is the industrial park.
4th Street East and Highway 14, yep.
Okay. It says business park and industrial park. It's
Oh,
one and the same
sorry
thing.
about that. I should have,
It's just
that's
one.
inconsistent. You're right. You know, we probably ought to name that, you know that?
be
Oh, I
nice.
like the Tom Dobson Industrial Park.
I already have a street.
The next one is the 2023 DNR grant for the Central Park. You know, we had some money reserved for that previously this year, but we didn't spend it because of because we didn't get the grant. So every year, it's the 3rd year now that we've done this, and I know that can be a little frustrating, but everything that everybody tells us is that it's very often 2 to 3 years, 2 to 3 times before you finally get this darn thing. And so we're working with a playground company right now. And the guy that we're working with actually used to work for the city of Owatonna as their Parks and Rec person, and has put together and successfully gotten these DNR grants before. So we're getting his services along with the playground company services for free, you know, to kind of put together this whole plan for how this park is, or how this playground equipment is going to play out. The Parks Committee Commission has been reviewing that, and that is, the deadline for submission, that's the end of March. And, you know, we're going to be asking the state for about $150,000 in terms of a grant for that. The next one is the Safe Routes to Schools grant. Actually, Seth already mentioned it. We had a meeting about a week ago, last week, at the school about this. A lot of really interesting information. One of the coolest things about this, because Seth mentioned it, but you know, we can get up to 100% grant funded. Now, nothing is 100% grant funded. This is kind of an amazing grant. 100% grant funded, up to $500,000 for new sidewalks and trails in the city. That's a big deal. Tyler got that same grant over by RTR High School, and so this would be, but you can't get that grant until you do this Safe Routes to School plan. So we're doing the Safe Routes to School plan, and then we'll apply for that grant. And so this is working our way through it. It'll be done in like an April. I think it was April. Isn't that what they said, Seth? I think in that time frame. So that's kind of exciting. Next one is ongoing, just 5-year long-term financial planning. The SCADA system upgrade, a lot of you know what that is, but the SCADA system is basically the electronic system that monitors what's happening with our water and treatment plant and sewer system. So what kind of chemicals are going into it? You know, when do we do backwashing? Is that lift station, you know, working? Things like that. Some of our system is working on a 1989 DOS-based system, MS-DOS. Remember that?
Hey, that thing's
Um,
solid.
So we're upgrading that to the latest technology. The design is done. The construction will start this year.
How long will that take?
How long will it take?
It's likely gonna start this fall and then they'll finish probably winter. They kinda wanna start when the demand is down, 'cause it's gonna take some things down for periods of time during the project. Just because of the controls, so we'll have to run some things manually during that time, so it'll just kinda help us out a little bit on the transition.
We're kind of hanging on by a thread with what we have right now. But
Don't jinx it.
it's going to get better. Downtown Wi-Fi, some of that's already up. We had a heck of a time because we were working with Vast, and then, you know, they changed to Blue Peak, and they had a bunch of changes and turnover and stuff, and some of the nodes got lost in the shuffle. Jeff and I have a meeting on Wednesday to talk to them. What? Tomorrow. Oh, I thought it was Wednesday. Tomorrow. To finish this project. It's about half done. This is part of the grant that we got from the EDA, and it has to be done by May. That's the end of the day. May 31st is the end of the grant deadline. Next one is improve VMC, City Hall, and build a new community center. First one is community center design. We applied for a grant, and if we get that, then we would put out an RFP for design services. We'll know that in April. Construction unknown, but potentially it could happen, and this could start as early as 2024. Community center funding, this is something that the city council said they want to discuss when we start discussing the budget in June. And so I think we'll have a good handle on what kind of money we have by that point. The next one is city council work group. Again, we're busy raising money, which we're doing a great job of at this point. The next one is, these next two items are related to the VMC in City Hall. So I just approved an RFP that's going to be put out for a contractor to do a conditions assessment of City Hall and the VMC. This is something we have to do in order to get money from the State Historical Society to do some of the maintenance improvements that we need to do on this building. We're going to issue the RFP, select someone, and then use how much that costs then to go get a grant from the State Historical Society this summer in order to pay for it. And so this is going to be a grant-funded project, but it'll be good because we don't really know exactly everything that's wrong with this building, and this will give us a really good list of everything. You know, what do you need to do with HVAC? What do you need to do with tuck pointing? What do you need to do with environmental remediation? Because there's asbestos and, you know, things like that throughout the building. So this is going to give us a good roadmap for, I mean, if you want to preserve this building for future generations and keep using it like we're using it, we got to know what we're dealing with here so that we can tackle it. And this is going to help us do that. The next one is this historic designation for the City Hall VMC. We've done the studies on this, as you already know. We submitted the application on December 1st. I think we're going to get some first round of comments back from them in maybe as early as next week. So we'll see how that shakes out, see what they have to say. The last goal is citywide beautification. You know, parks. We're going to continue to do some, upgrading and maintenance to parks. We're applying for a small cities grant this year, which will be both for homes and downtown businesses. That's something we probably won't get or start until 2024 or beyond because, you know, you apply for it and it's a federal program and it takes a while.
Do you think there's a good opportunity for being funded again?
Yeah, absolutely, I do. Yeah, I mean, we've been funded consistently for this over the years, and we've shown that we can fulfill the terms and meet the needs of the grant. We just closed the last one out. The only thing that I've been told, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, Jeff, but I think I'm right, is that because we just closed the last one out, you know, they may not want to fund us immediately, you know, just to spread the wealth kind of thing, but we've shown that we can execute this grant, and there's a need for it, so I see no reason why we wouldn't get it in the future, but there's no guarantees. But what is different about this one is that it's going to include both improvements to commercial buildings downtown and homes. So it'll be actually a bigger grant program than we've ever done before. So hopefully that'll help downtown business owners too.
Have you got a kind of a figure that you're applying for? Or
It's like 1.4 million. Yep.
Depending on how many people apply for it, well, how much each individual get, or is there a max
There's a max.
for businesses versus
Both.
homes?
Both. There's a max for both.
Yeah.
Depending on, it's a different max.
Yeah, okay, it's not the
Yeah,
same
Not
max.
the same max, yeah. The next one is the Community Artists and Residents Program, and you're going to hear more about that kind of stuff later tonight, so I'm going to leave that for that. Code enforcement. We talked about kind of doing a find and replace on the code, you know, kind of starting over maybe on some of these nuisance codes. This is going to be an ongoing, you know, thing. You know, downtown, there's a $15,000 in the budget for, you know, some new benches and planters and things like that. And so my plan is to kind of bring some of that to the Park Commission at some point, Seth, to discuss, you know, where we might put that stuff and what that's going to look like. But that's another effort to kind of spruce up downtown. Any questions about any of that? That's a lot more detail than I would normally give, but I felt it was important since this is kind of the first one in the new group, and some of you have been on city council very long anyway, and so I thought it would be a good thing to do tonight. So thank you for letting me be long-winded.
I just have one question.
Yep, ma'am.
It's down the road, 'cause
Yep.
it's not something we're buying right now, but the downtown street furniture,
Yeah.
that it's taken into consideration if it's something that's going to be permanent or something that's going to be removed to make snow removal easier, so we don't have a lot of complaints from downtown people that there's snow built up and everything, that we can make all these considerations before we go ahead and
Yeah.
start
I
purchasing.
think we're going to have to
And
consider.
include,
Yes, well, Shane comes to all the meetings, so, yes, absolutely. I mean, I think that we have to consider how we're going to do this. Now, we're not the only community like this. People do this all over Minnesota.
no, I understand
You know,
that.
so I think it would be good maybe to understand what they do, but I think that we can accommodate all of those needs. Yes, good point, thank you.
Just want it to be a consideration because, well, I mean, like, we used to have these big planters at the hospital, big cement things, so they were solid, but then we would move them for snow removal, because it makes it so
Not
much,
like people sitting out on them in December.
no, you're not putting anything in a planter in the
I just
winter.
sat out there today.
We'll get you a chair.
Lawn chair.
Lawn chair.
A metal one.
That's all, I just want to make sure that those things are taken
You
into
wouldn't sit as
consideration.
long.
I like the idea that on some of these, there's a little more than a year. You know, there's summer or fall, or on some of them have some dates. Then beyond this, is there then a more strategic one that you're working with that says, okay, by this date, I got to do this? Because that was my only concern. I think when I first read the first one, didn't even have some of the summer or fall. And it's just so easy to say we're going to accomplish this in 2023, and then October rolls around and November rolls around.
Well, that gives me some flexibility so that I can over-deliver and,
Yeah.
you know, as opposed to having to over-promise.
I don't
You're
need
in sales, you've been in sales, you know how that works, right?
I don't need to see the. I don't need to see all the detail, but it'd be nice to know if certain ones. I mean, if
Some of this is yes, some of them I can put more specific details on. Some of them are harder to do that because we're kind of at someone else's mercy to a certain extent, like some other government agency, you know, something like that. But on a lot of these, I could be more specific. Yeah.
I'm wondering if this is just a suggestion. I wonder if not in all of our council meetings, but maybe either the first one of the month or the second one of the month, maybe we just tackle one of these, encourage citywide beautification, you give an update on that one, rather than give an update on the whole thing.
Well, I'm gonna update this spreadsheet every council meeting regardless. But if you want a more detailed look into each one of the goals, in a specific meeting, we can certainly do it that way, yeah.
It's just a suggestion, because otherwise, we kind of lose sight of where we're at with it, and
I
that
think
would
that's a
give
really
us a
important point,
little
yeah.
more, rather than try to tackle this whole thing in a meeting, just pick out one of them. And then we can bring up concerns or ideas,
Or two,
yeah.
because there's quite a few. If we just do one, we won't make it this year.
Well, I'm thinking like one section.
Okay, yeah.
So a couple of these sections would probably be 2 meetings, Infrastructure definitely would be, but.
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes sense. I think that illustrates a really important point, and that is that, yes, are these goals somewhat aspirational? Sure, but at the same time, they actually have things we're trying to accomplish.
Right.
To accomplish them, so we have to kind of keep our eye on the prize, so to speak. So I like that. I think that's a great idea.
Well, I think that way we're a little more proactive than, it seemed like last year, and we had to, there was just a lot of things to react to, but it did seem like last fall we were more reactive discussions of things that weren't, the streets and whatever, and it'd be nice to get ahead of it and do more future planning.
I would love to do more future planning. I think that's a great idea.
You got a free Friday afternoon, Tom. Go start future planning.
For a fee.
Oh, no.
So anyway, that's all I have, Mayor.
Okay,
Thank you.
is somebody gonna, Shane, are you gonna talk about the fire department, or is,
No, I don't think Dale's here to talk about it, so,
we'll do it?
I
It's
think
pretty self-explanatory.
there's something that's in there, and we put it on the agenda just every year, but it is in the packet.
Okay.
Anything we need to do?
Nope. It's just informational. Are you ready for new business, man? All right, the first one is the 2023-2024 City Council goals. This was discussed, at the planning study session that we had on Saturday morning. Really, the only real major change from your previous goals was kind of adding the VNC City Hall into the community center discussion. Let me pull that out. And that goal would read, improve the VMC and build a new community center. So it basically just kind of adds them both together at the same time. Everything else is pretty similar to what it was before. Does anybody have any questions about this? I kind of just went over a lot of the stuff in detail, so.
Do we need a motion or something
Yep,
to
we need a
adopt
motion
it?
to adopt the resolution, yep.
I think it's well stated here, so I would make a motion to approve resolution 2023-15, adopting 2023-24 City Council goals.
I'll second that.
We have a first and second, any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was reading. Yes.
Seth Schmidt,
Yes.
Tom Dobson,
Yes.
Jerry Jones,
Aye.
George Landite,
Aye.
Dave Teagues,
Aye.
Pam Corman.
The next item, Mayor, and these folks have been waiting patiently, is I'm just going to pass it off to Val.
Okay.
All right. As you know, we have been planning some artisan residency type programs for this year, or that's been in the plan. Last year, Eric and Jeff and I participated in an artisan residency training program through the Department of Public Transformation. Well, in January, a new opportunity came up, and looking through it, I think that it would be something that would be a good next step for Tracy. So I just wanted to talk to you about that tonight. So it's called the Activate Rural Learning Lab. And this is a 2-year program. It's, again, by the Department of Public Transformation. And the goal of the program is to support community leaders and artists in creating spaces that that encourage creativity and social connection. So this is a space where people can get together, be together, and create something. I realize that's kind of vague, so we'll get into a little bit more on what that could look like. And they are seeking 5 communities with populations under 10,000 to participate. So this is specifically for rural communities. I feel like I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but I wanted to put it out there that what the proposed site is. This would be on the 2nd floor of the Veterans Memorial Center above where the police station is. And that's the space that we're thinking would be ideal for this project. You might be thinking, why not the new community center? And that is perfectly valid, and it is something that occurred to us as well. The issue there is timing. We need to have a site that is available right now, or within 3 months. So it has to be owned by the city and a space that we can get into within the next several months. So, you know, that means the community center won't work for us. But I think that this space has a lot going for it. It is available right now. It's owned by the city. It meets all the criteria through their program. It's in good shape. You know, it's a good solid room, good solid building. Wouldn't require a whole lot of work. You could make very few changes and be doing some interesting things in there pretty quickly. And it's also a really good size. So, you know, all kinds of different artistic opportunities would work in that space. All right. So this is the part where I try to sell it, and I'm really bad at selling things. So we're going to try. But this project, I think, aligns with your goals. You know, you want to revitalize downtown, and you would like to increase the use of the Veterans Memorial Center and have some improvements to this building. You know, this is just another way to get more people in this building and using it, which is a great goal. And I think this is a good way to do it for something a little bit different than what we're currently doing. You know, having an active arts community always makes a community more attractive to people from the outside who are maybe coming to live, looking for a new place to live or relocate with remote work, that sort of thing. It's just one more thing. You know, we've already got such good assets in this community. This is just one more thing that we could bring to the community that makes it a nice place to live. You know, it's proven that promoting the arts, fostering creativity leads to economic growth, drives tourism. You know, this will put us on the map. We could be seeing ourselves on an arts tour, art crawl type of thing. You know, that's what we want, is to get more people coming to town. If we are approved for this program, we would get $25,000, and that would be toward reimbursing the artists for their time and expertise, and for funding activities for us to communicate with the community about what they would like to see in this space. That's what this whole 2 years is about, is going out into the community, seeing what they want. Because it's about Tracy and our unique, you know, our unique personality of what people want. And then, as I mentioned, this is kind of a natural next step for us. You know, keep learning and try to bring more arts into the community. All right, next. So I've talked about a couple of these before. I keep bringing them up because Sauk Center and Granite Falls are relatable to us. This isn't some big city off somewhere with something that's, we could never do that in Tracy. No, these are relatable towns for us. The 510 Art Lab in Sauk Center is currently up and operating. It's a really interesting format. They have got tools and equipment in pottery, stained glass, woodworking, weaving, sewing, and culinary arts. They have things such as art buffets, which sounds, I have no idea what that means exactly, but it sounds really fun. They have classes, demonstrations, artist gatherings, and then they have an Art on the Avenue festival. Look it up sometime. They do a chalk art festival, and they have artists come in from all over and do chalk art on the street, and it's really amazing. And then the second one is the Yes House in Granite Falls, and this one is kind of a work in progress. They're in a fundraising campaign, kind of ongoing. They do have 2 artist apartments that are completed. They are working on co-working and community gathering space, multi-purpose performance venue. They actually have a climbing and fitness area that they're putting in it. An artist and wellness studio will go in the basement, along with a youth creative studio, multimedia center, and recording studio. That's a bit ambitious because that's a huge building. We're talking something like almost the size of the library, so we wouldn't be able to go quite as large of a scale in this space, but it just gives you some ideas of what that can mean.
Well, going up the steps won't hinder any of these programs?
Yep, and so accessibility is going to be something that we will need to address for sure. And it's something that I think is on our minds anyway. At some point we're going to need to look at putting a lift in. And that's something that you've talked about anyway, and I believe the county has potentially committed some money to that would help us out.
Committed some money to that. It's about $50,000. We've already done the engineering, so we know where it would go. It's just a function of finding the rest of it and putting it in.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to have to probably make it more accessible. It's not quite the same as, say, when we talked about putting a community center, senior center up there, because that has a larger number of people. This would be a smaller number of people. We would need to stay under an occupancy of 50 or something like that. But I think this isn't the kind of situation where you would have, 100 people up there. But it's something that's going to have to be addressed in terms of accessibility. But this planning is really just about what does the program look like, not so much about the building. And there could be a discussion about the building later on. Yes, that's going to have to be addressed.
Does this, I'm sorry, I don't want to.
No, you're fine.
Does this basically is giving then a group a space to do the planning and to kind of flesh this out, maybe have some programs, but it's not necessarily at this stage where you're talking about, as I read this, there's not bricks and mortar in this grant. It's not to improve a building or change a building. It's just saying we want this space
it's to do the planning, correct. You can't use this funding to purchase a building or to fund any construction. And the good thing about this space is it's not going to require a whole lot of construction. It would be more at some point acquiring whatever equipment it is that the group decides will go in the space. And, I'm sure that will be primarily grant funded. There are a lot of grants out there for arts programming. So I think, it'll be something to, like in Sauk Center, they did a capital campaign. They have it there so that when you make a donation, they have wooden paintbrushes that they put up on the wall with the person or organization's name. So, something like that. And they also do memberships. So you pay a certain amount per month or per year, and then that helps, fund the supplies and all of that. So There are different options for that, which we'll get to at some point in the next 2 years, hopefully. So, what will Tracy's creative space look like? That's what we'll decide. The goal will be to engage with the community and create a unique space all our own, based on what the people of Tracy would like. So the project team that we have put together so far, that would be me representing the city of Tracy. And I have with me this evening Sammy Jo Miller. She is the owner of S.J. Miller Arts and a local artist, and another local artist, Renissa Bierman. And we also have Yang Yang. He's not with us tonight, but we met with him last week. And Nancy Dobson, who also wasn't able to be here with us tonight, but who has agreed to be part of this project. So I think we have a good team put together. All right, next. So what we need from you is twofold, essentially. We need you to approve us applying for this program. The application deadline is February 23rd. It's a relatively simple, straightforward application. And I think we have a pretty decent chance of being chosen. Having participated in one of their previous programs. And I think we have a pretty solid plan. I think we have a solid team. And then it would be for your approval to develop and use that site in the VMC building as a community creative space. This isn't going to happen for, at least another 6 months, I would say, before we even started having any sort of meetings there to talk about it. So I don't, with the school possibly needing to use the facility some, this spring and summer and into the fall, I don't think that would be an issue if you're wondering about that. But ultimately, at the end of the 2-year period, the idea is to have that be moving toward being a community creative space. Did either of you want to add anything? I just talk and talk.
I'm going to answer your questions.
Okay.
I think they should.
I think they should introduce
Introduce
themselves.
themselves and tell us what they do and
Yeah.
what they're already doing in the community.
I am an atrocious public speaker, so forgive me. My name is Sammy Jo Miller, and I'm an artist who recently moved to the area. I moved into Walnut Grove in 2021 with my family, and I've really fallen in love with Tracy. I work with libraries from Mountain Lake and Worthington up to Marshall, over to New Ulm, and I do arts programming for kids and adults. I'm planning to open my business. We're going to have a home eventually, and I would like that to be in Tracy, but I'm exploring different options right now. And that's what I've been doing, and I've been teaching art for 15 years. I have a degree from St. Cloud State University, and I studied fine art there for 6 years. So that's me in a nutshell. Did you guys have any questions off the bat? No?
Have you seen the proposed site?
Yep, I've been up there.
Good with that?
Yep.
That gives you enough room to.
Oh, there's plenty of room up there. Absolutely. All right.
Hi guys, I'm Renissa Bierman. My parents own the Plaid Moose here in town. I both live in one location here and then also in Slayton. So I've been working there since I was 11 actually. But I have been doing art since I was young, and I've done 2 murals, technically 1 collectively, but 2 murals at the Slayton High School. It was a massive wall that went down to the choir room, and one side was like a guitar that had the strings broken and it flowed down the wall, and then the other side was complementary colors, so the guitar was like pink and pinks and oranges, and then the piano on the other side was blue with the keys coming out, and the keys were acting as shelves for plants. So that was on the other wall going down to the choir room. So yeah, I actually have a business on Etsy, and I paint records, vinyl records. People donate them to me. Or I'll buy them from thrift stores or whatever. But I paint and then I sell collectively different things, either pop culture references or just random things I come up with. Yeah, and I've also been just an artist for hire for whatever. I had last year a person came up to me for an idea for a cancer patient. He's quite old, he was an old gentleman that this painting was for, but I did a painting for commission, and it was like a little painting on a canvas. He had an idea, and I transferred it to canvas. So I definitely am a big friend of also all the departments and everything. But I'm really excited to be introduced to this project if it does, continue to be a thing. And I'm 17, Sue. So this is a very good opportunity for me to get my name also out there too. I mean, my name is already both like referenced twice to two people. Like they brought my name up twice, so I thought that was kind of cool too. But I'm just very excited to be in this community too. I am from Slayton, and Tracy, I really do appreciate what you guys are doing here. I lived in Slayton. We moved in Slayton like in 2015. But there's not a community. As I've realized working both here and in Slayton, I've realized that the community here is a lot more a welcoming. People definitely try to involve people in this community. And Slayton, there's not a lot of stuff, especially for young people. And I'm glad. I think this community, this space, will be really good and something that's very needed in this area in general. And I think it's going to be very, very good step forward if it does become a thing. So, thank you.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you guys very much.
Welcome.
And I'm excited and privileged to work with these two and the other two that we have. Like I said, I think we've got a really good team put together. 4 of us met last week, and we met for an hour, and I just had such a good feeling from the group. So lots of good,
My question is, so it's dedicated to this project.
Yep.
What if there was a need at some point to have another type of meeting or activity there? Is that a possibility, or is it an exclusive space just for arts?
Well, it depends on what the space looks like when it's finished. What does it have in it? Because if it's got large equipment in there, it's probably not going to work for meeting space. But I would say we'd answer that question as we go. I know it's, like I said, it's very vague, and that's just kind of how this process. I keep telling her, no, that's part of the process. We have to trust the process.
Well, I guess I'm assuming then that we haven't really been using this room for anything else.
No,
not much.
We occasionally it's gotten used for 3 things in the last year that I can think of.
So it's not something that we're going to be sacrificing one type of activity there for another.
Not at all. I mean,
Correct.
we looked at a couple of different uses over the last year, this opportunity came along, and we're really well positioned for this because we worked with this group of people before. They basically asked us to apply. I'm not saying it's a guarantee that we're going to get it, but we've already put in all the groundwork to get this grant. And so I think it's probably a pretty good chance. And what I really like about it is, because sometimes it's hard for people to get their head wrapped around, well, I don't, paint, or I don't do this, or I don't do that. A lot of times people do creative things, they don't even realize it. Well, maybe you do woodworking,
Exactly.
Or maybe you like to, you have a hobby or a craft of some kind, And so it's really, a lot of times people call this like a maker space or something like that. And the great thing about this that I think that is good for the community is that what it brings to the community is kind of this economic piece. You heard these 2 ladies here talking about how they sell their products. These are businesses, and so this is kind of like an incubator for an art business in a way. That's economic development that brings jobs and potentially people to town. So it could be pretty cool. We'll see, but it's a start.
Mm-hmm. And giving artists a chance to network and get to know one another is really valuable, for them as well as they grow their businesses.
And I have to say that there really is a lot of art in this area. Like when we drove down to decide to move to this area of Minnesota, there's art everywhere. Like you drive by these little properties in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of a field, and they'll have a snowman painted on the silo, or a little garden statue in the yard that they put together themselves. So like the people around here in this area are doing art on their own. Let's get them to do that together in Tracy. Let's bring them from Mountain Lake. Let's bring them from Marshall. Let's bring them from Walnut Grove. That's not that far. Let's bring them over here and get them doing art with our community.
It's kind of a spin-off type thing from what you had in the basement over there.
Yeah, and we,
Have a designated space to do that.
yeah, it
When I
would.
put paint on the wall, she's not mad at me.
And we have seen, you know, with the community art classes that we've been having, you know, we've really seen that there is an interest in more arts programming here in Tracy. And we are getting people who come from Marshall, you know, to take these classes, or Ballatin, you know, so people are willing to travel to participate in some of these activities.
Sounds like a good idea.
And there aren't really any of these little hubs for that in this area right now. So I think it's, you know, it's an opening for Tracy to step in and grab that market up.
That might be what our downtown future can be.
Right.
It might be, you know, I mean, it's going to take a lot of stuff like this, you know. I mean, I hear people all the time say, oh, well, you know, downtown's not what it used to be, you know, et cetera, et cetera. Well, what can it be? You know, maybe it's this,
Yeah.
you know. I mean, I love the vision of, you know, this whole area, this corner. You got the library and, you know, potential community center and VMC and City Hall and stuff. It's kind of like the you know, the beating heart of the center of the community, right? Could be pretty neat. I don't know why downtown couldn't be that someday.
Yeah.
I just had someone comment that moved to the area, that there's a lot of things to do around here if you're into sports.
Right.
There's a lot of sporting activities. You can go to all the high school, the grade schools, St. Mary's sports. I mean, there's a lot of sports activities. Bowling, you know, darts, everything. But we really are lacking for people that don't have the interest in going and watching sports or participating in sports. Where I think this definitely gives a whole nother opportunity to people that want to move out here, maybe work from home, but want something to do in the evenings to meet people, to...
It's a, yeah.
Don't ask me to do pottery or anything.
Oh, we'll get you. We'll get you. Oh, no. we'll get you in there. We'll get you to do something.
Kids that do it in the little ashtray. You can make it.
Jerry, you should see the paint. You should see the painting I did a couple of weeks ago. Then you won't feel so bad.
You can make a rock, Jerry.
I don't think I could even do that unless it was supposed to be a cookie.
But yeah, and the great thing about this space is, you know, so you maybe have this family who's coming into town for a wrestling tournament, and they've got a teenager who's really not interested in that, but they have to come along with their family. Well, hey, there is an opportunity right there for them with, you know, maybe something that they're interested in doing.
Great idea.
Well, is it kind of, I mean, is it a space like where they can come do their craft, but have the, you know, the being able to talk to other people and that kind of thing? Is that the kind of...
Yeah, and I think that, you know, we would move toward having some equipment there, like some weaving equipment, for example, and materials that they could use to make some sort of a weaving project, or painting, or stained glass.
And really, sorry,
Yeah.
like, really we don't know what
Right.
the accessibility of the space is going to look like at this point, because I've worked with a studio where it was, they would host classes and do things like that where it would be more of a social arts activity. They can also then have studio time where, say it's someone, you have like an attendant, student aide, or someone from the school volunteering time, or a city employee that would be there for X amount of hours on Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday maybe. So the kids one weekday and over the weekends can come in and just create with what we have available in the space, like stocking with paper, colored pencils, basic art school stuff, you know, basic art classroom stuff, and just having it available like that. Or if we're going to strictly have classes, like we don't really know what the structure is yet. A lot of this 2-year process is planning all of that.
Hence the planning process.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's driving me nuts.
Yeah, I'm guessing it'll be some combination thereof in the end. You know, and another thing that we've talked about is, you know, you could have a small performance space up there. All you'd have to do is hang up a curtain, and you could have some acting, kids' little theater camps, and then they could give a little play and make costumes, or, you know, I mean, it really doesn't take a whole lot to just have the space there and available for different things.
Great idea.
Yep,
Well,
sounds good.
I agree that the program sounds wonderful. There's a lot of upside to it, a lot of potential. My one reservation is and you mentioned it, Val, will the use of this space conflict with a request from the school district to use that in their, while they're remodeling? And you
Right.
said you don't believe that it would.
I don't think so, because I think that, you know, it's going to be 2 years before we really have something ready to go in there. You know, and especially I know I've seen the request for this summer, you know, for the space, and I don't see us needing to meet there. I think that for the time being, we could still meet at the library. And yeah, I don't see it being an issue. It's definitely something that came up in my mind, you know, with knowing those needs coming up. So
What's going on this side of the building? I was up there the other day to talk to Jeff, and, you know, I think it's where we used to take our driver's license tests back in the old days. You know, what's in that big room?
Which room are we talking about, upstairs?
Yeah, upstairs.
The old house. Right now, the only thing that's going on there right now is the Masons are renting that space.
Okay.
And they basically have the use of that at the moment.
Yeah.
I do think that there's a lot of space upstairs that is underutilized, but it needs to be remodeled.
Oh. I didn't know if the school could use some of that space.
I think that's possible. I don't know totally yet how the whole school situation is gonna hash out, because we still have to talk about, I'm still not sure exactly what their total numbers are that they need. Yes, it's possible that something like that could happen. But as Val points out, this is a planning process, and nothing's actually gonna happen, nothing physical is gonna happen up there for a couple of years, and we'll be past the point where the school would need any space anyway.
yeah, no, we certainly don't want to prohibit them from being able to use it in the short term.
Yep.
So.
Sounds good.
So what do you need at this point then from us?
So we have got a resolution for you on the agenda this evening. I don't know if that's
Correct. That's on the agenda. So it's
Is
just
that,
basically designates us.
2023-16?
Yes, sir.
I guess I would make that however you want to put that, motion for 2023-16.
And I'd be happy to second that.
Well, would we happily have any other comments on that?
Am I allowed to vote on this?
No.
Do I have a conflict of interest?
No, you don't have.
Okay, shit.
You have no pecuniary interest in that.
Jerry Schoens,
Aye.
George Landite,
Aye.
Tom Dobson,
Yes.
Seth Schmidt,
Yes.
Dave Teague,
Aye.
Dan Arvizu,
Yes.
and Pam Corman.
Aye.
That's all we have for new business tonight, Mayor, and then we have a couple closing